constituency, the Honorable Samuel Ablakwa Ablakwa. He joins us on the line, giving the responses that the minister has generally given to some of the allegations or concerns he has raised in the past. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. Now, the minister has thrown a challenge that if he has not sold any land, or the government has not really engaged in any sale of lands, and if there was anything like that at all, it was done during the tenure of the previous government. He's thrown the challenge. He says if anybody has any such evidence, the person should make it available. I know you have raised the matters. What's your general view on the press conference he addressed today, and the issue about the challenges thrown to you and a few others? Hello? Hello, Honorable Okujo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, yes.
Yeah, good evening to you and good evening to the listeners of City FM. Let me state from the outset that the battle against state capture will not be won if dishonesty and total lack of candor and sincerity and respect for the Ghanaian people becomes a scarce commodity. When you listen to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the sheer levels of dishonesty is frightening. On the matter of the Bulgarian embassy demolition, government's own sole enquirer, Justice Anto Ofriatak, concluded that there was considerable fraud in that transaction and that elements at the Lands Commission conspired with the private person who changed the title fraudulently. These are the words of the sole enquirer. Fraudulent conduct. After the demolition, which happened under the watch of President Akufo-Addo, Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, could not protect a diplomatic enclave. And we know the consequences of that under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. The person who benefited from all of this fraudulent conduct, when you read Justice Oforiate's report, is a gentleman called Dr. Yao Eduampoma, an appointee of President Akufo-Addo at the NDPC. These are facts. So when the lands minister says that he's challenging anybody should prove who in this government has benefited from this state capture going on. Hasn't he read the Justice Oforiata Commission's report? Why is he hiding those portions of the report from the Ghanaian public? So you see, when ministers of state who are to serve us, and as lands minister under the constitution of this country, you are to help the president. You are the land policy advisor. Land is vested under Article 257 in the president for and on behalf of the Ghanaian people. We are the true owners of these public lands. And if the people who are holding these lands in trust for us cannot be truthful to us, cannot be candid, then we are in very, very big trouble. Then you come to the land belonging to the parks and gardens. The minister very disingenuously refuses to comment on the parks and gardens land in Wa, which was sold under this government, sold to a private developer who, without authorization, without approval from LUSPA, claims that the Lands Commission has reasoned when the Lands Commission has no powers under Ghanaian law to reason. And this chap, with his collaborators, and I published that pathetic letter where the Upper West Regional Minister was so helpless, Land Commission warning him to stay away when he tried to do his work as head of RegSec to protect the parks and gardens land. The local government minister, under whom the Parks and Gardens Department is under his watch, came to Parliament on the 4th of July and confirmed that they have not rezoned the land, that private developer is an encroacher. But you have this lands minister and his lands commission defending the private developer and allowing the private developer to construct a fuel filling station. All of this happened under the watch of this lands minister. And he very conveniently avoids that fact. Then you come to the Parks and Gardens land in cantonment. This lands minister fails to speak to the fact that in 2018, even though he claims that this land may have been sold in 2016, when the local government minister has told us in parliament that they went to court, the so-called purchaser of the land had no documents and has been thrown out of the court. That is what the local government minister told us. In 2018, this same government tried to construct a new ministry of the local government and rural development at that same location. The question that arises is, if you say that land was sold in 2016, how come in 2018 it had to take environmentalists, activists to stop the local government ministry from proceeding to build a new local government ministry on that land? It had to take Luster's final directive that, look, this land has been acquired since 1952.
So why is the confusion? What is the confusion then? Because it makes it clear that the processes to acquire the land commenced in 2012 and concluded in 2016, and also was subsequently assigned to Danny Ike Real Estate Developers Company Limited. So if you are saying that despite the lands commission granting a lease to this private developer, the lands, what's the name there? The lands minister, is it the lands minister or the local government minister tells you in parliament that land is not been assigned? Where really is the confusion then? Where is the confusion?
Yes. The clear and obvious confusion is that you have two cabinet ministers telling the Ghanaian people two different tales that are not aligned. So the lands minister is saying that the land has been sold. The local government minister says it has not been sold. It is still under our watch.
But what to be in the record of the lands commission?
Control the land.
What to be in the record of the lands commission, since they are the custodian of all public lands?
Look, there are too many cases of this lands minister and the lands commission even fighting fellow government officials, cabinet officials. Are you aware that as we speak, the lands commission, on one hand, is saying that land belonging to the Ghana Prison Service at Roman Ridge has been sold to another appointee under this government, an advisor to Dr. Baumia, Professor Piedu. So you have the Interior Minister and the Ghana Prison Service saying that no, we are preserving this land, we want to protect this land, it belongs to the Ghana Prison Service. And yet the Lands Commission is saying something else. It's the same case with the Parks and Gardens land in the Upper West region, and it's the same case with the Parks and Gardens land in the Greater Accra region in cantonment. So I am...
Yeah, on that prison's land, it does appear that the lease...
I must conclude this point.
Yeah, just to throw it in, that the lease was granted in 2005.
All of this, it doesn't matter when it was granted. We are fighting state capture. It doesn't matter when it was granted.
But Honorable, I think it's important to set the context right, because it does appear to him that your allegations were channeled towards the Akufo-Addo government, that Akufo-Addo government was engaged in land grabbing or is engaged in land grabbing and state capture. So he's seeking to point out that this particular Professor Piedu land, or the prison service land we are talking about, lease for it was granted as far back as 2005. So Nana Akufo-Addo's government had nothing to do with this. He sought to point out that one.
He is totally wrong, and he's being disingenuous. Look, why is the Akufo-Addo government's land commission actively? First of all, I have given you examples of public land sold under Akufo-Addo. The Bulgarian embassy demolition. The Akufo-Addo Baumia government should be so ashamed that they allowed the appointees and allies of their government, people close to this government, to bring upon us this monumental international embarrassment. They should be ashamed of that. It has led to strained diplomatic relations. It has also led to compensation. As we speak, this government claims they cannot find Jojo Hagan. The Bulgarians are running out of patience. And very soon, they are insisting that they will call on the government to pay if government cannot find Jojo Hagan. If the person who benefited, who is an appointee of President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Ampoma, says that after he bought the land from Jojo Hagan in that fraudulent conspiracy, according to the Justice Oforiatta Commission's report, he cannot find Jojo Hagan, then the people of Ghana, our taxes will be used to compensate, just as our taxes were used to compensate the Nigerians when their properties were demolished under this same Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. So the evidence is overwhelming.
Yeah, I think the point there also is that they say that land was not granted to the Bulgarian embassy by government. Neither was government, or neither was the government or the demolition done by government. And according to them, the government only intervened in the matter due to the involvement of the diplomatic mission. So they seek to distance government from it in terms of the fact that government did not grant that land to the Bulgarian embassy, neither did government supervise or government take part in the demolition. So it might have been a private person who did it, but because it's a diplomatic mission involved, government was forced to come in to intervene to help settle the matter. That is the point they try to put across.
This attempt by government to play Pontius Pilate will not work. Salom, I will admonish you to read the full report. You know, this government did everything in their power to conceal the report from the Ghanaian people. Unfortunately for them, I intercepted the full report. It had to take a lot of struggle in the patriotic interest of Ghanaians to secure that report. And I now know why government was engaged and is still engaged in a grand cover-up. They don't want the Ghanaian people to read that report. I am going to put out the full report in the next few days. I just try to find a digital way of uploading the full over 160-page report so that you read it and you will see the grand conspiracy by elements at the Lands Commission. The person who benefited is an appointee of President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Edu Ampoma. They are concealing all of those facts. These are facts. Now, let me come to this very unacceptable argument that, we come to inherit matters and this was sold before, we can't do anything. Are you aware, Salom, that when Professor Mills came to power in 2009, he found out that a number of public lands have been sold in another state capture which was unacceptable to the Ghanaian people. The Ghanaian people protested. You remember that a list was published by the CJA, which I was a member of then, about how public lands were sold so cheaply, sold like confetti. Land at airport residential cantonments, residential Laboni, to top government officials, some high-ranking judges and military officials. And that's what the politicians who engage in state capture do. They try to rope in a few people, judges, military people, so that they can spread the collateral damage, if you like. Now, when Professor Mills came to power, he decided that because these lands have been sold so cheaply, and these are lands needed for the public good, he decided to refund the monies and reverse the sale of these lands. That is how come our current foreign ministry, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, located at airport, that piece of land, that whole enclave, was sold to private developers, including the then, not private developers, government officials, including the then foreign minister. Now, all these lands under Professor Mills, they were reversed, and talk to the consultant who is alive, the respected land lawyer Kwame Jan. He will give you more insight on how they reversed those transactions, refunded those money. So even this claim that, our hands are tied, we discovered that there was some cabinet decision in 10 years ago under Kufuor or under President Mahama. Look, this government has the power to reverse those things. And this government has indeed reversed a lot of things when they have felt strongly about it. Why is it that in a lot of these matters, including the Achimota Forest land, they come and they are doing worse? They are looking on and they are adding to even more. Look, under the guise of Accra redevelopment and now Kumasi redevelopment, do you know the things that have gone on? Look, when I heard that this minister was going to hold a press conference, I thought that the vexed matter which Parliament has pursued him for, and for which he even appeared before my committee on assurances 2 weeks ago, I thought that that is the matter he's going to address, which is publishing the full list of public lands which have been sold and what is left under their watch being managed on her behalf. I mean, why is it that a constitutional obligation this government has not been able to, for 3 years now, that Parliament has been demanding, they have not been able to provide that list to Parliament? When he appeared before the Assurances Committee 2 weeks ago, he could not. He failed to present that list. What are they hiding? And at today's press conference, he is again saying that list is not ready and they are still working on it. I mean, Jesus Christ. So what are they managing on our behalf? How are they carrying out their constitutional mandate? And then he thinks he can come and engage in cheap political point scoring. Nobody is interested in that. We are interested in protecting our public lands, in preserving state assets. That is why I and a number of colleagues on both sides of the House have proposed a private members' legislation, which we are calling the Protection of State Assets Bill, so that politically exposed persons and politicians will be removed from the purchase of state assets. Because the research we have done, the evidence we have, is that when you remove the politicians, more than 80% of these sales will stop. So look, the minister should stop toying with us. This is a very sensitive matter. You have seen guard chiefs go on demonstration. These are not matters that you joke with. The minister is saying that he's not aware that the Du Bois Center has been transferred for 50 years. He says he's not aware. He doesn't sit in cabinet with the foreign minister and the attorney general who signed the transfer agreement. I mean, what do these people take us for? What do they take us for?
So in essence, I think the point he's trying to make is that if we are making such calls, we should do so with candor. The fact that some state lands were transferred or were sold under your previous government, you did not see anything wrong with it at the time. And here you are now raising a lot of issues. He feels that lacks quite some candor. And the impression is being created as if all these lands were sold or transferred under the presidency of Akufo-Addo. That appears to be his major concern.
Everybody who has followed the debate on state capture and the sale of public lands, particularly to politicians, over the last 15 years and more, will know that I have been very consistent. Not only have I gone as far as the Supreme Court when Jake Obechobi-Lamte was purchasing his bungalow, I have been very consistent, have stayed to principle. I've never participated in the sale or the purchase of public lands. I've been very consistent. So if you are talking about conduct, you are talking about consistency. In all humility, I represent that. I have been very, very consistent for many, many years. And I have served in government for 8 years. I resisted every temptation to go and partake in the rendezvous. I've never been part of it. So where is this claim about people coming with clean hands and all of that? My hands are not dirty. And look, let's not personalize these discussions. These are national discussions. We want to protect assets. We want to protect public lands. The rate at which, look, you know, on a weekly basis, the number of public servants who reach out to me. The latest victims are those at Roman Ridge who have been asked to move out. Roman Ridge flats who have been asked to move out.
Asked to move out by which people?
By the Ministry of Works and Housing, under the so-called Accra redevelopment policy that is caught up with them. My brother, if you follow the news, when I got a tip-off from the Ghana prison service officials at the Osu Enclave, near the Osu Runabout, who said that they have been asked to move out. And I summoned the Interior Minister to Parliament. The Interior Minister confirmed that yes, they've asked them to move out. A private developer is coming to develop the place. When we asked him the terms of the agreement, how much of the land, the portion that is going to this private developer, he couldn't tell us. Up to now, we are waiting in Parliament. He says he will bring the agreement. Up to now, they cannot disclose the agreement. These are our public lands, lands for the Ghanaian people. Why can't this agreement be published? Why can't there be transparency? Why shouldn't we, first of all, if you have a discussion, whether we should even be selling off these lands, whether it's PPP or what have you? I mean, is Ghana coming to an end? Won't we be a country that will grow in population, that will require more public lands for development? Why are we just sitting inside? Why? And you have all the ministers. Anytime I have confronted them with the evidence, they have come to Parliament to confirm same.
Yes,
so why is this lands minister trying to create the impression as if, I mean, we are putting out matters that are not supported by the evidence?
Very well. So
when he is engaged in disingenuous selectivity.
Recently, we got the news that Cabinet has instructed all public institutions who have public lands or in possession of public lands to desist from selling them or transferring same to third parties without having due authorization from the president. And they say that this directive was necessary in order to tighten the grip on how public lands, etc., are sold. The president must know about it necessarily. Does this provide you some respite or some relief in terms of how you feel that public lands are being dissipated?
It does not at all. This is a big joke. We have to go back to the basics. We must first know. The president himself, he doesn't know the public lands under his watch. He doesn't know. The lands minister told us in Parliament that the president has requested for a compilation. He hasn't been able to provide a compilation. I mean, why are we such a joke as a country? And you say that they should bring... So if the lands are being sold, how will you know? When you read the Justice Oforiatta's Sole Inquiry's report, do you know that the Lands Commission came under oath to confess that public lands are being sold as private lands? Will you believe that? So we have a messy situation, a total mess, a hot mess. So it's not about your directives. You don't even know, you wouldn't even know, or at least you pretend not to know. So let's get to the basics. Publish the list. Let's have the list. Put the compilation together. That is why in our private members' bill, we are saying that Ghana must have a state assets registry. It is a total abomination that we don't have since up to now, since 1957. People deliberately, those working at the Lands Commission and the Lands Ministries, deliberately don't want us to have a lands registry so that all of us will know by the click of a button. If you are living in Bumbuku Yo, you live in North Town, you live in Shao Sudoku, wherever you are, you should know the government lands that are there, so that we can all protect these lands. That is what we need.
Very well. Thank you so much, the Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa, for speaking to us, Member of Parliament for the North Town constituency.